Welcome. Episode 30, Swing State Update. I'm your co-host, Austin Smith, with the great
Jessica Barcius.
And we have a special guest with us, Charlotte Perez.
Hi.
From the Mount Vernon Project. Welcome to Swing State Update, your first episode, I believe.
Yes.
We've got a lot to cover today. There's been a lot going on. This episode, you guys are hearing it on your Friday morning drive or your Friday home drive. We've got a lot to talk about Arizona, the RNCS.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the RNC to talk about. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson and the big interview. Finally, we're getting some journalism, a little bit of real journalism.
My
You're more on that
goodness.
front line than me.
I am so excited for this, and it's unfolding pretty much as we sit here and speak. So it's going to be the first time that any of us sitting here are seeing what actually unfolded. I mean, the anticipation's been built up for like a day and a half. So it's about time. So I'm like super excited for this.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal,
Yeah.
and we'll dive more into that. But first, we're going to kick it off with Arizona, obviously. Big week at the Arizona legislature. I was there all week. A lot to cover on elections. Myself, mainly Representative Alex Colladin, a few other members of the legislature. We ran because election integrity is a huge issue, the number one paramount issue that we have to tackle as a party, and it has been for some time. And what we're going through in Arizona right now, we talk about Chase the Vote, and we talk about mail-in ballots, and so on and so forth. And so this week at the Arizona legislature, to give you guys the genesis of what happened, is the Arizona House of Representatives and the Arizona Senate a few years ago changed our laws for the recount process. And what was happening is it was giving the counties a timeline issue because Congress re-upped and changed the Electoral Count Act. And UOCAVA voters, which means people who are overseas and military voters, we have to send their ballots to them way ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So for them in Arizona, if they're military overseas voters, to get their ballots, they have to be sent out by September 24th. In order for that to happen, there's a lot of things in the calendar that elections, how we operate, had to change. And so we had to work with the other party, we had to work with the governor, and so we overwhelmingly passed a big piece of landmark election integrity reforms. Let's go to the clip that we have of Representative Alex Colladin, if we can play that.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I rise in order to explain my vote.
Please proceed.
Before I was a member of this body, I was a member of the Republican grassroots of this state. And there is no complaint that I heard more or more vociferously from our grassroots than that this body did not use leverage in order to get election integrity signed into law. Today, we remedy that error. But we also remedy another important error. Because the other reason that this body has failed to act on securing our elections is not because of the other side. That's certainly part of it. But more importantly, it has been because of us. We have acted like crabs in a bucket, letting the perfect be the enemy of the good, tearing down real attempts at election reform. We've done it over and over again, and we've done it to ourselves. But that ends today. This bill codifies into Arizona law for the first time actual, legally binding requirements on how our elections officials must conduct signature verification. It expands the use of common sense actual ID when people go to vote. It allows us to actually ensure that our own voters are not disenfranchised because we will speedily have access to the data that will allow them to cure their ballots. It is real. It is meaningful. 2024 will be different than 2020 and 2022 because this will be the law. It is not perfect. We gave up things that we did not want to give up. But at the end of the day, what we are going to put on Katie Hobbs's desk is what our voters put us here to do. So for all of those reasons, I'd like to say, in the words of one of our former members, I am glad to see that at long last, as it once was, election fraud prevention is no longer a partisan measure, and I proudly vote aye.
So what we essentially did here in this omnibus of an election reform bill, Representative Colladin is the vice chair of the Elections Committee. I'm on the Elections Committee with Representative Rachel Jones, also Representative Justin Heap, and the chairwoman, Jacqueline Parker. And what we have done here, the Senate also had the same exact bill. And what we have done here is a lot of times people are confused on why ballots are being counted when the signatures don't match up. Well, because we don't have anything codified into law about signature verification standards.
Okay.
And so we talked about the EPM before, right, with Adrian Fontes and when we're fighting him. So when Katie Hobbs was Secretary of State, she had her own election procedures manual. And last year, Representative Colladin wrote a bill that would have codified signature verification standards into law that she wrote. She vetoed it. We put it back into this bill. When we talk about curing ballots, this puts the political parties on an equal playing field when it comes to curing ballots, which means that real-time data information, this is what I had worked with Representative Colladin to put into the bill. When voters send in their ballot and the signatures aren't matching up, that day, that data must be released to the political parties of the state so that in real time, our precinct committeemen, the Turning Point Actions, the political parties can chase down those people and ensure that their voices are heard, that their signatures, they say who they are.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my signature. So their ballots can be heard in real time. This also promotes a greater use of ID when voting early. So in 2026, if you have a mail-in ballot and you show up and you drop it off, what happened in 2022 when people just dropped it off, it didn't count then. It has to go to the MTEC, the Central Tabulation Center in Maricopa County, and they have to verify the signature there in order for it to be counted. If you show up in 2026 with a ballot and you drop it off, all you have to do is show your voter ID. So that way that ballot can be tabulated immediately when it's time to. That's a huge win for election integrity. That's a huge win for simplifying the process. So we can have real chain of custody right there, that we know exactly where those ballots are. And then it's just ensuring that the Arizona overseas military voters are able to vote and that we will be able to send Arizona's 11 electors to Congress on time. Politics is 100% the art of the possible when Republicans and conservatives stick together. We did have some people that are of my party that I respect a lot, and they voted no, and I respect their reasons for voting no. But the risk here and the reward, we got significant wins here that we have never gotten before in the state of Arizona. This is the first time ever that we have legally binding signature verification into law. That is a huge win. I'm glad I was a part of this. I helped put the signature curing in the legislation, which is the first of its kind in the country, the signature verification being put into law, and making sure that there's a greater use of voter ID when voting early. This will all go into effect tomorrow. Katie Hobbs is expected to sign this bill. And so some people might say, you know, because all the Democrats are on board, it must not be that good. I think what happened here is this manufactured crisis that came from Maricopa County and the counties. And I don't believe that this had to have taken a legislative approach, but unfortunately, that's what happened. And all the Democrats came on board. And I think they're voting yes. I could be wrong. I can't speak on behalf of them. But I believe they're voting yes because we kind of put them in a corner. They were so concerned on making sure that our militaries and overseas voters got their ballots on time. We said, okay, but let's use some leverage here. Let's fix signature verification. Let's put it into law. And it's now going to be law. That the standards that were set in 2020 will be the law in the state of Arizona. That we actually have something where if there's something that we need to go to court with on signature verification, we have something in the law to go to that. Maricopa County broke the law. Pima County broke the law. We have something in law now, in state statute, that the counties have to follow. So I hope voters can be rest assured that the 2024 election will be more secure than it was in 2020 and 2022. It's the hardest piece of election bills that I've ever had to work on. I'm tired. Feel like I got run over by a Mack truck. But happy to see that we moved the needle on this.
What were
bit.
the reasons for voting no?
Some members didn't feel that they had enough time to read the bill,
Okay.
and I respect that because I also believe the same philosophy. But I feel confident I've read the bill, and some may feel that there's not enough mechanisms to actually enforce this. But that's their opinion. I respect it, and it got a supermajority in both chambers. Katie Hobbs is expected to sign it today, and it will become law, and we'll be able to ensure that Arizona's electors are sent on time to Donald Trump.
Amazing.
So that's the big Arizona update this week, and I was happy to be a part of that.
Let's go, Austin.
Woo.
That is huge.
So yeah, it was a good win. It was a good win. So
Yeah.
that's the Arizona update. There's
Honored
gonna
to be
more.
sitting next to this one right now.
No, and it was a whole team ordeal. Representative Alex Colladin, Representative Justin Heap, Senator Wendy Rogers, Gina Swoboda played a big part of it. Jen Wright played a big part in it. Our grassroots, none of this would have happened if the grassroots just did not keep blowing us up, emailing us, texting us, sending tweets at us, calling us. None of that ever is possible unless the grassroots show up. Government goes to the people that show up, and the people that showed up had a significant impact on this happening. And so I'm thankful to the grassroots for that, and I always will be. So
Amazing. All right, well, let's get into our next topic, which is we're going to do another RNCS recap. We have Charlotte here. She was in attendance as well as I was. Austin was not, unfortunately, but yeah, I mean, it was a very successful event, and of course the RNC had their meeting directly after. Now there's been a lot that has unfolded since then. Rumors, I don't even know if they're rumors, if it's truth, but there are reports that Ronna McDaniel is stepping down. She, of course, came out, said that wasn't happening yet. We don't know the reasoning exactly behind why she came out to say that. Now there's some
of grief. She's in denial.
Yeah, could be. There's also some speculation that the RNC just doesn't have anyone. They're not ready for that to take place yet. So they're kind of buying time with this one. They had Ronna McDaniel come out, put a statement out that she's not actually stepping down, just to kind of buy some time for them to get a new chair lined up, new vice chair, all of that good stuff. So we want to talk about that a little bit. But first, let's get into the RNCS. Did you have a good time, Charlotte?
Yeah, so it was really great. I actually helped plan the entire event with Morgan Mitchell and Sadie. Producer Sadie helped a lot with that, so we were really grateful for their help. But, back in November, Tyler was like, we're doing an event 2 days before the RNC winter meeting. And of course I was like, oh, okay, sure. And he's like, we're doing it at the Perez. That's where their meeting is going to be at. And so, we ended up doing it at the Planet Hollywood, which was directly right next to the Perez. And it was incredible to watch something that we've been planning for 3 months, kind of just fire hose to the face, planning for 3 months, just coming to life. And it was incredible. The feedback that we've gotten from the county chairs has been insane. Our field reps are literally asking every single day for us to send them more materials for the county chairs.
Good.
So we'll be doing a lot more printing here. We provided them with binders that had, breakdowns of our Chase the Vote initiative, Arabella, the Superfeed, the application, our app, how it's so easy to use, and all of these different resources and tools that they need to be successful for this election cycle. And I think, obviously, with Ronna stepping down, I will say we were pretty successful at doing our jobs. Yeah. And I think, a lot of them didn't like that we did that, but we did have some RNC members who really aren't normally on our side who reach out, and they came and they saw what we did, and they were actually, they didn't really have anything negative to say. Obviously, they're going to have their feedback and their criticisms, but nothing. It was more so like, wow, I didn't think that you guys were actually doing this.
Yeah. It wasn't a direct attack on the RNC like some people were making it out to be. It was to supplement the meeting that they had, ahead of time to kind of, I guess, set the precedent for what the county chairs were needing in terms of tools so that it could be discussed at the RNC meeting afterwards. That's why it happened beforehand. And, the chairs were so engaged. I got to attend some of the breakout sessions and some of the speeches, and everyone was so engaged and asking questions and, wanting to know the ins and outs of the tools that were given to them. People were playing around with the applications in real time. And you could tell that it was going to be a game changer for a lot of these people. So I think it was just, it was something to supplement what the RNC meeting was going to be. And of course, since the RNC meeting, there's been a lot of new revelations. We can go ahead and play clip 1, Bannon talking about Ronna McDaniel.
And why is Ronna McDaniel and that team over there, they don't want to do it because they understand they're culpable. They were supposed to close the deal. Trump can't do everything. He can't run the country and then put it all on his shoulders and then win in 2020 with 74 million votes and then have to close the deal. What in the hell was the RNC doing? They're guilty of a mortal sin against this republic, and that sin is not going to go away until she is removed as the chairman of the RNC.
He's not wrong. Not wrong. I think what's also important to highlight here is the RNC. I mean, thankfully, the Restoring National Confidence Summit happening at the same exact time. The RNC has been asleep at the wheel, and now you have an alternative at Turning Point Action. You bring all of these county chairs together, all these specific party leaders, people who are in the grassroots that have significant influence over how the movement will run and how we win elections. That wasn't a dig on the RNC. It's like, you guys have been asleep at the wheel. Mm-hmm. This is how you're supposed to be effective in winning elections, providing the tools for the county chairs. For the 20 most important counties in the country, they've got to be equipped. They've got to be funded. The RNC can't spend $70,000 on floral arrangements and expect that we're going to win elections. That's just not how it works. That $70,000 should be banked for a, on-the-ground person at the RNC that's overseeing, Chase the Vote. Mm-hmm. And Bannon's right. You can't rely, and this is what we were talking about in Arizona today about the election integrity stuff. The parties are supposed to serve as a function to defend candidates, to defend lawsuits, to do some of the heavy lifting that campaigns necessarily can't do. You can't rely on all the candidates just to be the ones to have to fight this stuff. You got to have an RNC that is well-funded, that is well-organized, that is laser-focused on doing the functions that the party is supposed to do. Hosting a convention, party rules, nominating a candidate, and getting that candidate across the finish line. That's the entire job. And they failed doing that in 2020 for Donald Trump. They failed doing that in 2022 for many candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to know, because a lot of the RNC members said we're just super anti-RNC, and we're not, right? Like, the Republican Party needs to operate on its own, but they need to learn how to work with our counties and how to, be more involved in there. And we're very grateful to have good, party chairs like Josh McCoon out in Florida, Evan Power in Florida, and Josh McCoon in Georgia, and Evan Power in Florida, and then obviously our new chair here, Gina Swoboda, who we were just talking about here in Arizona. I mean, we got to win these states, and we're not anti-RNC, but we are pro helping these people. And I mean, we've had county chairs say that they learned more from us in the 2 days that they were there than they have ever learned from the RNC in 2 years. And I think the RNC can't ignore what we're doing anymore. Mm-hmm. And so they are welcome to work with us. We literally welcome everyone. We need bodies to chase votes. And that is what we've been talking about over the last few months. And we tell them, I say, I will literally send you our data. If you want it, I will send it to you. For whatever you want, we'll give it to you. But they just have to be willing to work with us. And I think when you call people out on what they're not doing, they get really upset about it. But we want to work with everybody and we want to help. And the important thing is that we want to win in November. Yeah. Because my bank account cannot take another 4 years of Joe Biden. I don't know about anyone else, but
I was just thinking that today, actually.
Well, and Austin talking about, helping our electors and helping Trump, talking about Tyler, he brought a resolution to the floor at the RNC to protect our electors. And I would love to say that passed unanimously in the resolutions committee at the RNC. And so him and Josh McCoon worked on that. And I think it's important that the RNC realizes that these electors, they went to bat for Donald Trump and they need to be helping them too.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's also important to note that when, Bannon goes up and gives speeches like that, he's not attacking the entire RNC. It's very pointed to certain individuals because there are individuals in the RNC, such as Tyler, that are pushing back against this and trying to take action, which kind of brings us into our next point. Ronna McDaniel. Let's go ahead and play clip 2.
Number 1, to remake the Republican Party as a grassroots party from the bottom up and kick out the Romneys, the Paul Ryans from the Republican Party once and for all. And this wins me no favors. In fact, some people said, Charlie, are you going to bring it up? And I said, I don't know. It depends. You got to let the vibes feel. Okay, here we go. Ronna McRomney has to resign as chair of the RNC. She has got to resign. Do you agree? Do you agree? Do you agree? She's got to go. Well, there you go. Oh, that's nice. I'm sick of being nice. I want to win.
I mean, he's right.
Hell yeah.
Let's go, Charlie.
Tired of losing. Sick of the culture of losing. I mean, I don't understand. Like, if you're a professional football coach and you go through 2018, 2020, 3 losing seasons, when we have really good we got really good talent on the field, really good talent, really good candidates across the country in many places.
Right.
Donald Trump and all these other candidates that are really good didn't pull it off. Sometimes not to no fault of their own. No backup. It always starts at the leadership. Always does. If you're a football coach and you go through 3 really bad losing seasons when you should have won,
well,
you gotta go.
She said she wasn't running again. She literally said she wasn't going to run again. And then we saw, obviously, what happened between her and Harmeet last year, which was really upsetting. I mean, Harmeet was kind of the face of change for the RNC, and people still voted against her. And we didn't think she was going to lose the way that she did, but, people are easily bought off. And that is why we're working to restore national confidence within the RNC. We're recruiting candidates every day to run for the Republican National Committee, and that's what we do here with the Mount Vernon Project. So I think Ronna stepping down is a huge symbol of healing within the RNC, but there's a lot more work to do.
Got to have a conservative, grassroots-minded chair and co-chair. Always starts at the top. There will be a massive restoring of national confidence if the top-down is a grassroots approach to the party. We need the party, the leadership of the party, to reflect the values and the politics of the grassroots.
Right.
That is so important. That's why there's such a big push for these jungle primaries and ranked choice voting, because the vast majority of the party is much more conservative, is much more grassroots, is much more in tune with the average workings of the Republican Party. And the folks at the top that don't get that do that at their own demise.
Well, and I think there is talk about who's going to be the new chair. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do we have those slides up, Sadie?
Yeah, I mean, there's...
Okay, yeah, so we have 3 great women to be co-chair, but I think for chair specifically, there's some rumors on the ground. Obviously, we know Drew McKissick is the chair. So, if Ronna resigns, he will become the chair until they maybe hold a special summer meeting. Obviously, we have convention in July. But, there's also rumors on the ground that Michael Whatley is going to be the chair. So, a lot of people aren't big fans of Whatley. He is Ronna McDaniel's pick. So people will probably, lean more towards Drew. But I think when it comes to co-chair, we have 3 outstanding women who I think would make excellent co-chairs. 3 women who hold a very special place in my heart as I've gotten to know them over the last year. I mean, Casey Crosby is the treasurer currently of the RNC, and she is just a wonderful woman. She's incredibly conservative, and she's been the national committee woman for Kentucky for quite some time, and she's just had been a dramatic improvement from what they've used to have. And then you also have Harmeet Dillon, who I think that goes without saying. She just has been such a trailblazer within the RNC, but she probably doesn't want it, which nobody should ever want to be in the RNC. When I recruit candidates for the RNC, I want them to tell me, I don't want to do this, because I'm like, you're great. You're even more of a reason for you to be in the RNC. But Harmeet, I think, just is incredibly intelligent, and she would make a great chair, co-chair. Wherever she is, she's effective. And then you have Julianne Murray, who is the chairwoman from Delaware, who not only is, a badass in her own sense, but I mean, there's literally no other word to describe her. She has been a lawyer, since 2011, and she stuck it to Hunter and no excuse mail-in voting. So she not only, and people like to make the argument that she is brand new to the RNC. She was elected in April. Like, okay, we need change. We need people who don't know what they're doing. And she is one of the most conservative fighters that I've ever seen. And these three women, any of them would be excellent when it comes to the co-chair position.
Donald Trump was new to politics when he became president. So,
right.
And, he's been the best change, I think, that the Republican Party has seen. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're new to the RNC. But you're totally right. Anyone who's been asked, would you take the position as chair? They're very reluctant about it. It's a job that no one wants to do, but it's pretty much a sacrifice that you have to take for the party, right?
Right. And like Austin's saying, you can't be the football coach and lead your team to like 3 cycles of losing. Like Ronna Ronna can complain about how, the attacks, okay, then step down. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're not doing the job, like, I don't get a raise when I'm not doing my job, Austin. I don't know about you, but if I'm not doing my job, I'm not getting a raise. And then Ronna continues to just keep making money off donors. And so, I think we're seeing a trend upwards with the RNC. And, hopefully with what we're doing here, we'll continue to see that.
Yeah, so let's expand a little bit further. Why do we think Ronna has come out saying that she's not actually going to step down?
Well, I just think Ronna's in a constant state of denial, right?
Okay.
She consistently thinks, and
who you surround yourself with. She surrounded herself with people that are like, no, you're doing fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yes men everywhere around her. I mean, my God, we were in the budget committee meeting, and oh my God, it was so aggressive. I mean, her and the Christine Chiaretti, who's the Pennsylvania National Committee woman, she just sat there and was just like, lecturing everybody before they even started talking about the budget, because there was a huge debacle about the credit line that Ronna was trying to get. And obviously this is just like to save her from what she, her abysmal fundraising. And I think that, these people that are constantly, and like Austin just said, it's the people you surround yourself. And if you surround yourself with yes men, you're going to constantly live in this land of delusion. And so Ronna, I think she could do this one way, right? She can just step down gracefully and just, let Drew take the helm until convention. I mean, she's supposed to step down after the South Carolina primary, which would be great because Drew is the South Carolina State Party chair. And so he would kind of take over that. But, if Whatley gets in there and that is Ronna's pick, I think, we'll just keep moving forward with what we're doing here and hopefully, eventually have a more conservative RNC. But I think that's kind of why she's in denial, because she could have not run, back in 2023 last year, and then could have let Harmeet win, and then we'd be in a whole different scenario.
Right. I guess I'm kind of confused why she wants to remain chair so bad, because, and like you said, she's surrounded by yes men, but is she not on social media? I mean, does she not watch the...
Well, and I think she likes her paycheck. She likes her money. Yeah. And as soon as she stops being chair, they stop like covering her for everything that she does. So, and when you're living, a certain life that you don't want to, get rid of, she probably doesn't want to get rid of that. And so I think, and I just think she doesn't want to, prove that we were right all along. And at the end of the day,
I think that's the main thing, honestly.
We have our
ego
event 2
would
days
just be
before.
so damaged. So
she knows who we are, and her, and and I think Tyler. That's why Tyler has just been so influential within the RNC, because he is so like. Tyler's not going to sit here and just let it. The grassroots are constantly calling Tyler. Consistently, they're calling him, and he picks up the phone. And I think, like, if we had more people like Tyler in the RNC, they wouldn't be, like, people wouldn't hate them so much. Mm-hmm. But there are good people in the RNC. We have, like, at least 45 members within the RNC who are excellent, great conservatives. We have Nebraska, Fanchon Blythe, Eric Underwood. We have the Nevada delegation, Sigal Chadha, Michael McDonald, Jim DeGraffenreid, who had their caucus today. So the real one. None of these candidates today. Yeah. So, but I think we have excellent conservatives in the RNC, and they are also fighting for change. And I think, Ronna's going to have to come to terms with things eventually.
Speaking of change, as we kind of pivot here a little bit, Tucker and Putin.
OMG.
Real journalism is back, folks.
Okay, so we have clips that we're going to watch right now, because I am so excited for this.
Roll clip.
We're in Moscow tonight. We're here to interview the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin. We'll be doing that soon. There are risks to conducting an interview like this, obviously. So we've thought about it carefully over many months. Here's why we're doing it. First, because it's our job. We're in journalism. Our duty is to inform people. 2 years into a war that's reshaping the entire world, most Americans are not informed. They have no real idea what's happening in this region, here in Russia or 600 miles away in Ukraine. But they should know. They're paying for much of it in ways they might not fully yet perceive. The war in Ukraine is a human disaster. It's left hundreds of thousands of people dead, an entire generation of young Ukrainians, and it's depopulated the largest country in Europe. But the long-term effects are even more profound. This war has utterly reshaped the global military and trade alliances.
Okay, so yeah, this was Tucker, kind of beforehand. It was mostly a response to the backlash he was receiving from mainstream media, calling him a traitor, that he's, interviewing the enemy here. And he's trying to justify it, saying he's a journalist, which is completely justified in my opinion.
Correct.
I was thinking about this today, and it's like, you have journalists all the time interviewing like serial killers and Charles Manson and stuff. And it's important to do that because you want to get in the mind of these kind of people so you can,
It is so disingenuous from the hacks in the media that are like, why is he giving a platform to Vladimir Putin? I was like, well, you guys gave a platform and interviewed Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
You guys also interviewed Saddam Hussein. You also interviewed some of these other dictators in Africa and some of these terrorists. Mm-hmm. I'm like, he is a journalist of the highest integrity, Tucker Carlson. Vladimir Putin, whatever your opinion is on Vladimir Putin, that's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. He is the leader of a major nation, a nuclear nation that is at war in Eastern Europe right now. This has been going on for 2 years. You're allowed to interview these people. You need to know exactly where they're coming from, why they're doing what they're doing, their position on some of these issues. This is not propping up Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
People deserve to know what he's saying. They just deserve to know. Just like if people deserve to know what Obama said or what Trump said. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, you watch any video of Vladimir Zelensky, and most of what he says in his speeches and his interviews, it's all that Putin is basically the spawn of the devil. And, he goes on about it, on, and he rarely actually gets into the hard-hitting questions like, how's the war going? He dodges those completely. All he says is that Putin is completely evil, the worst thing that happened to the world, and I think it's ballsy for Tucker, quite frankly, to go and interview him, and I have so much respect for it, but you keep hearing all of this from one side. Let's just hear what Putin has to say, and I'm interested to know exactly what kind of questions Tucker asked him.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I'm super excited. TPAction.com/chase. We need you to go to TPAction.com/chase. We are chasing the vote, folks. Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia. We're hiring people all across the country right now to chase the vote in these critical battleground states in every precinct. We want to make sure that every voter gets their voices heard. We're mobilizing America's freedom fighters to chase every legal ballot in the state of Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia. TPAction.com/chase. We need you to come chase the vote with us to get these low propensity ballots in the mailbox. We got to run up the score. Election integrity is defense. We were talking about election integrity today. That's defense. Chasing the vote, getting out the vote, that is playing offense. We've got to run up the score where we can. TPAction.com/chase. TPAction.com/precinct. We need everybody to be a precinct committeeman. You're not actually in the Republican Party unless you're a precinct committeeman. We need everybody to show up. The government goes to those who show up, and that's being a precinct committeeman. Today, we would have not got this big election integrity bill done if the precinct committeemen, if the grassroots did not hold our feet to the fire to get something done. TPAction.com/precinct. And finally, our coalitions, TPAction.com/coalitions. If you're a mom and you're upset the way the country's going, you need to be a part of our coalitions. If you're an educator and you're upset the way CRT and social emotional learning is creeping into every aspect of our life, we need you to be part of our educators coalition. If you're a farmer and you're a rancher and you're upset with how the government's treating environmental policy, you need to be a farmer and rancher in our coalition. We need There's something for everybody, right? There's something for everybody at tpaction.com/coalitions. Get involved with our coalition so you can help mobilize our massive ballot chasing army across the country. Jess, final thoughts before we got to get out of here?
I'm actually, the reason that I'm not going to be recording next Thursday is because I am attending an LD4 meeting. So
nice.
I will report back on how that goes.
You're an LD4, right?
Yep, on my way to becoming the precinct committeeman.
Cool.
So I'll leave you guys with that. Any other thoughts, Charlotte?
No, I'm just excited to see what happens with Ronna and see how this Drew and Michael plays out. I think, like I said, we're in a state of healing, so I think it's going to be an exciting few weeks here.
Oh, yeah. Super exciting. All right. Well, we will see you guys live on Monday. Thank you for tuning in.